Hey y'all, we're back with Keep It a Buck, but we're doing Keep It a Buck interviews and Keep It a Buck behind the scenes. All right. So we got some more exclusive news. We got another Syndicate Nation alert. Syndicate Nation alert. Jason Pellum's back here with us. He is a Division One coach for Boston University women's basketball. He's a phenomenal coach, and he was before that he was at UConn doing video coordinating for the basketball program on the women's side as well. So he's very versed in what he does, and hey man, he's great at what he does. Again, this is my brother,
Appreciate that, brother.
one of my college roommates, and I'm just excited for him and his journey. But enough of me talking. Let's get him to tell y'all what he's been up to and what he has going on next.
Yeah. So this ain't dropping until like next week, right?
It drops whenever you want it to. I
Yeah.
told Keith
Don't.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Whenever
Don't.
you want it to.
Don't drop this until the news comes out. But yeah. Nah. I just accepted a job at Brown University, so I'll be making that move to the Ivy League, as an assistant coach for their women's program. So
Yeah.
actually starting next week, moving pretty quickly. So yeah, that's the Syndicate Nation exclusive for y'all.
Syndicate Nation exclusive. So we here. Couple questions. First, let's talk about how fast this turnaround has been. We were talking about it a little bit prior to us getting set up, but
Yep.
how fast has the turnaround been? You just accepted the job, and now you're moving from one city to another.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So a lot of people actually don't know like how quickly these processes move on the back end. So I interviewed. Well, the job came about because a friend of mine was originally reached out to for the position, but he decided to turn it down. He's a head coach at a Division III, so he decided to stay where he's at. But he plugged my name in, and so the head coach at Brown reached out to my head coach at Boston University on a Monday. Her and I spoke on the phone on a Tuesday. I went up to campus on a Friday, interviewed that day, and accepted the job the following Monday, which was last Monday. So happened all within essentially a week, and then I start on Tuesday. So it was about a 2-week process. And obviously, with all that, got to do some logistical moving and things like that. But yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround. So I'm right into it.
Doug, that is quick, and that is honestly it's cool, and it's honestly a little bit scary too because you're going from one job one week to another job the next week, and this isn't like you're just moving one job around the corner. So it's like, oh, good, you're moving states.
Yeah,
Not just cities, you're moving states. So
for sure.
it's a very quick move and a very quick turnaround. So I definitely commend you for making sure that you're getting that taken care of and then still making sure your job end is still being taken care of because you go straight to work on this upcoming Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, yo, congratulations. What else what are you most looking forward to for this job?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about it. I think in this new role, I'm gonna have a little bit more responsibility within the program. So this year, my head coach is gonna be doing like an offensive, defensive coordinator type situation. Special situations like end of game, side out of bounds, after timeout type thing. So I'll have more of a say on one of the sides of the ball. And I've in my last 4 years at Boston University have worked my way through the staff and was able to kind of accumulate a lot of knowledge and a lot of things that I would want to try if I was in the position to. So now having that that voice and that opportunity to kind of be creative and put to the test some of these ideas that I've accumulated over the last few years.
That's smooth. That's smooth, man. You've had a very different trajectory than most people would think of when it comes to becoming a college head coach, a college basketball coach, and at the level you are. So, can you talk a little bit about the journey and getting from being a high school basketball player, mainly a baseball player,
Yeah.
to being on the practice team, to being on another like bro, you can tell them the story, but
Yeah.
it's a beautiful story.
It's honestly low. I'll try to make a long story as short as possible because it has been a lot, like you
Yes.
mentioned. So yeah, like I played for both the men's and the women's team at UConn, and that was kind of off a whim. Like you lived with me for 4 years. Like I tell my like people that I meet the story all the time, but like I literally woke up one day freshman year. I remember you came back from class, and like I got out of my bed and you like looked up at me and you was like, what the hell, like. And literally, I grew like 3-4 inches, like legit overnight. So just tried out for the teams off a whim. Was able to participate with the UConn programs. After I graduated, just kind of stayed within basketball. Was coaching camps here and there while I was working, and then got an opportunity to go back to UConn as a video coordinator, intern there, and that's kind of got me my foot in the door with college basketball, just to kind of get an understanding of the business. In that role, it was very simple. Like I was just cutting film, recording practices, but at that point, you get a upfront view of how a practice is run. You can ask questions and get an understanding of what it takes to run a program or be a part of a program at that level. So was able to kind of soak up a lot of knowledge there. Then COVID kind of put things on hold for a while, but once things opened up again, got my foot in the door at Boston University just from my relationships. An assistant who was at UConn, who was a former BU player, who was the head coach there, she got me plugged in. And then from there, once I got to BU, I just worked my way up through the staff. And from there, one thing I'll say about that, like that happened for me because in each of my roles, I took on more responsibility than I needed to, or that was assigned to me. One, just to prove that I was capable, but two, just to kind of test myself. And I feel like you learn best by doing, right? So just wanting to kind of get that hands-on experience as quickly and as early as possible. I'm a pretty ambitious person. So like, yeah, I understand waiting your turn, but at the same time, if you have the opportunity to, learn with some firsthand experience, then why not, put yourself in those positions. So, 4 years later, got the call to Brown, and, now I have an opportunity to kind of keep building my career and try to help build this program and win an Ivy League championship.
Ooh, Ivy League. So that is like a big, like it's like a bit to like unpack. So one, you move up in like the division, so you go into a better conference that you're playing in, so you're good, you're coaching better basketball, right?
Yes, in a sense, yeah.
Essentially, for conference wise. But then you also get the opportunity to get an Ivy League education.
Yeah.
And that comes for free because you're a coach?
Yeah, so, with most universities, when you work for a university, there's some type of, like, tuition or reimbursement, or you're able to, take classes for free. So most full-time staff can do that. So, yeah, just being at a university, obviously you're a coach, but you still work there full-time. So that opportunity is still available for you.
Ooh. So an Ivy League education. And then another thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that you have the opportunity to be closer to home too. So you have the opportunity to be closer to where your mom lives. You have an opportunity to be closer back to New London. Is that something that you were looking for in a job, or was that just an extra perk?
I'll be honest, it wasn't something I was looking for in a job. Like I was open to going anywhere. Being where I'm at in my career, and I don't have a family, so I don't have anything that's tying me anywhere. So yeah, I was open to anything, but being in this business, because you're so busy and there are a lot of time commitments and there's a lot of strict time commitments, sometimes it is hard to see family. So having the opportunity to be closer to home, yeah, it was kind of like just a bonus, to be honest. My parents have been able to get out to Boston and see me, see games, and I was able to coach in 2 conference championships, and they were able to come to one of those, which was really exciting. So
that's fire.
Now they have an opportunity to see more games, and the Ivy League is, more in the New England area, so we're a little more local, and again, they have more opportunities to be around me and see me coach.
Good. Well, I'm glad that works out for like both ends. Like it might not be exactly like what you wanted, but the fact that you do get the plus side to that is beneficial.
For sure.
Let's go. One thing I wanted to highlight about some of the story you were telling was the power of networking.
Yeah.
Right. So we came into college. What SB tell us? Shout out SB, yo, for real.
I'll never forget this, but he told us your network is your net worth.
I think you've been doing that to a T, bro.
I've been trying, man. I've honestly been trying.
The places like you started out in these different programs. The programs have landed you internships.
Yeah.
And your internship landed you a Division I job. and that Division One job landed you another Division One job.
Yeah.
So it's you're networking and you're obviously doing a great job keeping positive relationships. People think positive about you.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody has something to say, and I think that's a powerful thing too. If somebody doesn't have a job, there's plenty of people that people really can think of for a job.
Right.
Like they really could try to give anybody an opportunity, but for somebody to find you and want you to give an opportunity, because another big thing about that is they're putting their name on the line.
I actually got a story about that. If you don't mind me interjecting.
Yeah, nah,
so
for
with
real.
this Brown
Yeah.
job, and again, this is dropping after the fact, so I don't mind telling this story. But in the phone call that I had with her, the first time we talked for like an hour and a half on the first phone call, and she said, so at the time, she had asked me like, how long have you been? I've been able to recruit for about 3 years now. There's a rule in the NCAA that now where they opened it up to like other staff members on your coaching staff can go out and recruit if somebody's out for whatever reason, whether it's sickness, whatever. My head coach happened to be out on maternity leave, and we lost an assistant coach. She ended up taking a new opportunity at Nike. So I was able to get out since I've been in like the director of operations chair to go out and recruit. But anyway, I was at we were recruiting a young woman. Well, we actually had signed her already. But I had to go to all her games just to make sure, we make sure that we continue to support kids through their AAU season after they sign and commit to us. So I was watching her games, and there was another girl who's now at Brown, who I'm about to coach, who played on the same AAU team. And through the conversation, she was like, I remember us being at a game at 10:30 at night. Just so you guys know, that's usually how late these tournaments go. So she was like, I remember you being there at 10:30 at night. You weren't on your phone. You were watching the games, recruiting. And then you were up early in the next morning for the 8 a.m. game. And I remember that. And she was like, that was 3 years ago. So it just goes to show, like, we had no relationship. We had known each other in passing, and we scrimmaged them a few times. So we didn't have a relationship, but we knew each other's face. Mm-hmm. But the fact that 3 years later she can recall me being at an AAU game at 10:30, and we're probably in Kentucky. But that's something that she could pull from her memory. Like, it just goes to show people are watching you,
Always.
People are watching you and watching like how you move.
Mm-hmm.
So, people say like how you do something is how you do everything. Like, that's something that I try to pride myself on, because
You said that multiple times on this pod, so that's
Right.
great.
It's important to, kind of hold yourself to a high standard, even when you don't think that's the definition of integrity, right? What you're doing when nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. So, I think that seeing that kind of like confirmed for me that like what I'm doing isn't in vain, because sometimes you put in work, or you do certain things, or you try to carry yourself certain ways, and you don't always get the direct return, or you don't see that return right away. So just kind of 3 years later, I was able to see that how I was carrying myself and the work I was putting in was able to come to fruition in some way, shape, or form.
Definitely. And honestly, I think that's the perfect story. I don't even need to keep going. It's just perfect. I know you're pressed for time, so let's get a question that I wanted to ask you that I've talked to you about before. What are some of the tough things about Division I basketball in general, from a coaching standpoint, from a playing standpoint? What are some of the tough things that you want everybody to know before trying to embark on this journey?
All right, so I'll start on the coaching side first. I think there's a big misconception, especially like young men. If you have a desire to get into the women's game, you got to understand that this is not our space. Again, it's women's basketball.
You're not about to come in here and step.
You know what I'm saying? You got to understand that the space you're in and respect that space. There's a lot of women who come before you. They built this, right? We're coming in as just we're just trying to keep pushing that ahead. So you got to understand that on the front end. So the path that you take is going to be a little different, right? Again, my path, I was a practice player, and then from there I just kept my relationships and built them. And that's maybe the route that you're going to have to take. A lot of these coaches are former players, and a lot of these coaches now, or these players now who graduate, have a desire to coach. And I'm just going to be honest, they're going to be the first in line to get these jobs. It makes sense, right? So understanding that, and kind of killing your ego on the front end there, right? And just understanding that as the space that you're in. And then from there, also understand like this looks cool. Like, I've been doing this for a while, and I post really cool pictures, and I get to travel. At some point, especially if you want to get into the Division I level, and if you take it down levels, Division II, Division III, like these aren't high paying jobs, right? If you're not working at a Power 4 school, and the Power 4s being just for some examples, a Duke, a Clemson, a Kentucky, a UConn, right? If you're not working at these schools, you're not making a crap ton of money on the front end, right? So at some point you may have to work for little or no money to get your foot in the door, and you have to make some sacrifices. I was fortunate that when I was having to work for no money, I was working full time, but my job was in Willimantic. Mm-hmm. So logistically, I just got lucky to where that made sense for me, right? Not everybody has those. We're in Connecticut. What's the biggest? There's only a few D1 schools in the area, and again, you'd have to have some type of relationship with someone there on the front end to begin with, just to get just to even be considered, right? So you got to understand where you're at geographically. You may have to move, right? You may have to pack up and move. You may have to save up some money to live off of a very small salary and take a $20,000 a year job, just to get your foot in the door and get an opportunity, right?
And still have to be doing something extra to make sure it's you can pay all your bills and stuff with that stuff, but you still want to do extra stuff too. So you might need to be doing like a DoorDash or something extra to be able to.
But with that too, you may have to sacrifice fun for a little while. You may not be able to live if I'm being real, I had to do that, right? I lived in Boston, but I didn't get to experience Boston the way I wanted to, right? Mm-hmm. Just because it's an expensive city. Life is expensive right now, city aside, right? So you got to understand that, you may have to make that sacrifice and change your lifestyle a little bit for a little while you're chasing your dream. I think for me, I'm extremely passionate about basketball. I'm obsessed with it. So I was okay with that. If you don't love this, I wouldn't advise that you do that to yourself, right? Because you're going to struggle. It's going to be hard.
And that's what I want people to know.
Right. It's going to be hard. So if you don't genuinely love it, don't do that to yourself. I wouldn't advise it, right? Again, I knew that this was something that I woke up every day still loving to go to the gym, loving to go to practice, loving to go to the office, right? With, struggling bills wise, not having as much money in my pocket as I want, right? So that's what it is on the coaching side, right? It looks good, glitz and glamour, but it's a struggle while you're establishing yourself. Mm-hmm. On the player side, you got to understand that this is a grind, and when you get to college, the playing level is even, right? So how are you, in order to separate yourself before that, you got to do more than everybody else. Because when you get to college, everybody has been lifting. Everybody has been working out with a trainer. Everybody's been playing on, the Adidas circuit, the EYBL circuit. They've all been doing that. Or they all did it, right? So if you want to get there, you have to be able to kind of, put yourself on the level of those kids. So what are you doing? I saw a meme, and it was it's school's out. It's 3 p.m. What you doing right now? You know what I'm saying? And that's real. What are you doing with your...
We reposted it.
You know what I mean? What are you doing with your time right now that, that you have the free time? Because everybody's excuse is, I don't got time, which is an excuse because...
No, it is.
And
I tell every one of my athletes that say they don't have time, I always find the time of the day where they do have time. And I say, there you go.
It's simple. Boom. You could. It's easy to block out a kid's hour. Mm-hmm. Simple.
Are you waking up early?
You're waking up early, maybe go to bed a little bit later, whatever the case, or do something a little later in the evening. Anyway, So you got to be able to separate yourself, and then also understand that it is, I hate the phrase, but it is like a job.
Oh, it is.
It's like a job. You have to be able to, these people are giving you a free education.
First of all, this shit's worse than a job.
These people are giving you a free education, and now with NIL, they're giving you a free education, and they're paying you thousands of dollars on top of this.
Bro, I saw a schedule the other day, and this is some real shit. They had to wake up 5 a.m. for team, and then or they had to wake up 6 a.m. They had to wake up at 5 a.m., but they had team practice at 6 a.m. or whatever, or team lift or whatever, and then they had classes. Had to go through their whole day of classes, and then right after they got out of classes, you got individuals, you got practice, and you might have another lift or so. You got film, you got this, and your day's over at by 9 o'clock, and it got started at freaking 6.
I'll tell you a little, give you an overview of how our schedule works, so you can see how you can lose 3 days like this, right? So in the Patriot League, we played on Wednesdays and Saturdays, right? So let's say we have an away game on a Wednesday. Cool. So Tuesday we'll have practice. Maybe let's say practice is at 9:30. So we got practice at 9:30 to 11:30. Mind you, before practice we have film. So we have film at maybe 9, right? You have film at 9. We go practice 9:30 to 11:30. We get on the bus. Let's say we're taking a 6-hour bus ride. So you practice, you get on the bus at 12, take the 6-hour bus ride, get to the hotel, maybe watch film again when you get to the hotel, you eat dinner, you go to bed. Boom, you wake up the next day. If it's a Wednesday, we'll play at 6 or 7. So cool, Wednesday you wake up. Mind you, on the Tuesday, if you had an 8 a.m. class, you had to go to that class, right? So Wednesday you wake up, we have breakfast, maybe go shoot around. We might have a study hall if it's during the year. Then we'll get to the gym, go through our warm-ups, play. We take the bus back that night, so we'll play at 6 or 7. Cool. 8:30, 9, we're leaving. We're taking that 5-6 hour bus ride back, right? So we get back to campus maybe like 3 in the morning. Mind you, on Thursday, if you got an 8 a.m., you're up for your 8 a.m. to go to class. And then we might have like a walkthrough because, you got to rest your body. So we might have like a walkthrough or a film session the Thursday because we got another game on Saturday. Now you got to go through your whole Thursday. You might have classes that whole Thursday. You might have an exam that day. Mm-hmm. And that's, again.
Still got to get it done.
Mind you, that's a Tuesday to a Thursday. 3 days gone. On top of your class responsibilities. If you have a paper due at some point, you got to get it in. So it's like you got to understand, you got to be able to balance your time. Mm-hmm. But it's also a commitment because you got to play at a high level. You got to win.
It's a lot that comes with it. Yeah, you're not just going to hoop and like the only thing you're thinking about is hoop. It's a lot.
Mind you, I didn't even mention locking in on the scout for that game. You got a paper scout. You got to study. You got to know. Like, I didn't even talk about
it's a whole nother class.
I didn't even talk about the basketball preparation. You know what I'm saying? So like that's a whole nother thing of it.
Because you go into the game without reading that scouting report and get your ass.
You're getting cooked. It's high level basketball. Like people, like regardless of it, the Patriot League, we were technically lower on the side of like rankings or like conference level in Division I, but it's still Division I basketball.
It's still high IQ basketball.
I've coached girls who've went and played pro. There was a girl who was a player of the year candidate. She went and now she's playing at Virginia. You know what I'm saying? Like these girls go and play high level basketball, like the highest of level basketball. So it's like, don't slouch.
Yeah.
Don't think that it's a game. So like that's why I say like getting ready for it, you got to understand what you're doing to prepare and then who you're playing against. Like I think iron sharpens iron. So y'all talk about AAU a lot on this podcast. It's like, yeah, if you playing on a Dookie team on court 78 and you're killing, that's cool, but you'll never really be able to gauge how good you really are because you're not challenging yourself against somebody who's at your level, really. You're wanting that comfort of being able to dominate, which is great, but wouldn't you want to dominate at the highest level? Now you really can't be, excuse my language, you can't be fucked with.
Yeah, not for real.
So
that's why I try to look at it like even when we were all in high school and stuff and going through sports and stuff, I felt like the easiest way to measure yourself, or if you are going to measure yourself, try to measure yourself up either against the best in the country or try to measure yourself up against somebody at the next level, because that'll be the easiest way, or try to go seek that competition in those type of people.
Like with you, with Passing League, y'all was killing the ECC.
Oh, yeah, bro.
It was no disrespect to the people who play ECC football, but it was easy for these dudes. So, like, what'd you do? You went and got with Coach Cochran and played, Team Connecticut, right? 7-on-7 Team Connecticut. Y'all went and traveled, played teams all over the country. You know what I'm saying? Or from all over the country. So, it's like you knew that you knew your goal was Division I. In order to put yourself in the caliber or, like, to be at the caliber of those type of players, you had to compete against them regularly or as much as possible, right? So,
that makes sense.
Same thing.
You got any closing remarks? We'll have you on here again soon, but I want to make sure that you get to your game. You about to go to a basketball game. He's about to go to Connecticut Sun and the Phoenix game, right?
Yeah, Phoenix.
So Connecticut Sun and Phoenix Mercury game. About to go to that, and then yeah, man, we got this exclusive here. He dropped a couple gems after the exclusive, but don't forget about the exclusive. My boy's in the Ivy League. My boy's getting the Ivy League education. Remember, this is Syndicate Nation, Keep It a Buck Sports Academy. We are a sports education podcast. Being in the Ivy League is like one of the best things that we could have coming across our door, trying to make sure kids still get education and not just be playing sports. So, Jason, we appreciate the opportunity, and congratulations. Like, dog, I've expressed my congratulations to you like a lot already.
Appreciate
But
you, brother.
bro, I'm so happy for you. Like, one, being closer to home. Two, like you. It's okay to say that you make more money.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
hell
like
yeah.
he got like a salary increase and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
in a better league.
For
Like
sure.
I feel like this is a calling that you've been patiently waiting on. And again, y'all, like this is my brother, so we talk often. He's been patiently waiting and feeling like he hasn't always been like not done right, but like there always hasn't been somebody there pushing for his like full on growth. So having somebody that's there to be able to try and like put a lot of resources around you and trying to like put a lot of knowledge into you and like try to tend to your growth is it's important. And I feel like coming into a new program, and I feel like you'll be able to do that with this new program.
Yeah,
honestly.
for sure.
I'm happy for
I'm
you.
excited for it. It's gonna be a good challenge for me. And again, you learn by doing. So regardless, I'm a learn from whatever mistakes I make along the way. But yeah, it's gonna be a good journey.
Yo, I'm excited, man. Again, congratulations, bro.
Appreciate it,
And
brother.
yeah, y'all, we gonna see y'all next time. This was just a small one for y'all, but yo, this is big news. Small, short increment episode, but this is huge news. And again, man, when in doubt, y'all, keep it a buck. We really appreciate y'all. Jason, thank you, bro. Thank
All right,
you.
brother.